Oh, dude! A wish. What's it gonna be, big fella? Fancy sports car? Shit ton of whiskey? Maybe? This guy again?
Remember, the doctor said you were overweight. Why not do something for your health and your family?
Oh man, what the? I just wish to be thin, but this is taking the piss.
Hello and welcome to another Whiskey Review with me, the Whiskey Novice. It's good to be back. It's good to have you here once again. We're on to episode review number 35, and this is part 2 of my mini-series looking at 3 Irish whiskies which I just feel we should discuss for one reason or another. Last time we looked at Yellow Spot because it's a particular favourite of mine. This time we're looking at this one, Connemara Peated. Now, I had a little dig at it in my intro there, and if you didn't get that thin reference, we will get to it in a moment. I had my reasons. So, Connemara Peated, as I say, from the Palate distillery down there in Dundalk, just over the border in Ireland. It is bottled at 40%. It is chill filtered. There is, well, don't mention that there's no colour added, so we'll take it there is. Although the colour of that, there's not a lot of colour added, but it is a blend of some very young Irish single malts. I think they're like 4, 6 and 8 year old single malts, so you wouldn't expect a lot of colour, so they've probably added just a little, just to bring it up a little. So, what do we know about it? It's an Irish peated whiskey, something you don't see an awful lot of these days. Traditionally, Irish whiskey was peated. This is not like a Scotch peated whiskey, and well, it's not heavily peated. The peat's probably more of a background. If you're one of those that looks into ppm, the phenols per million, this comes in and around sort of 13, 14, so it's low in the peat. So peat sort of plays second fiddle in this. Although I've already poured this because, well, there's 2 reasons I already poured it. One, it's always nice to get a little air out of it, isn't it? But there's so little left in this bottle that I was scared of running out. So I just wanted to make sure that I had enough. There's still a little drop in there. The bottle is not dead just yet. But, to say, lightly peated. That's, yes, there is a quick, brief hit of peat. It's sweet and light, but it gives way very, very quickly to fresh fruit, lots of fresh fruit, pear, pineapple, fresh pineapple, and even then you get the grainier notes, oaty notes, apple as well, to the point actually where I would say this is like almost like a Bramley apple pie or crumble, something that there's cereal involved, fresh fruit and cereal involved in the same place. There's a slight sulphur note buried in there. I'm even going to mention that thin word again now, because this is part of my issue with this stuff. I just find it thin. There was a time during this bottle when this was one of my favourite whiskies, but then when you discover more, when you learn more along the way of your journey, those good bottlings, those bottlings that you like, and this is me. And something else that I want to throw in there, that, let's face it, whiskey reviews, whiskey itself, all products can split opinions. Of course they'll split opinions. Reviews can ruffle feathers. People, don't agree with you. Totally understandable. I mean, I don't agree with everything that's said about certain whiskies. I just find this now, as I've progressed, as my journey has moved on, I find this a little thin. As a matter of fact, I find it very thin. Yeah, all that fresh fruit's there. It's nice. It is nice. But I think part of my issue is that they play the peated card on this very quickly, or very, you know, it's heavily advertised when being advertised as being a peated Irish single malt, which there aren't a lot of. Slight sulphur. I might have mentioned lemon sherbet. There is a lot of fresh fruit, and admittedly, it's quite a good nose. But then it's Cully whiskey, which I've maybe mentioned before. Anybody out there who knows their Cully whiskies, knows their Irish spirits, knows that Cully make a good spirit, and it is good. There's no denying that. It's a good nose. But I think it's where the palate gets introduced that it starts to fall apart a little for me. Slightly salty delivery. It's just incredibly fleeting. The engagement is just gone very, very quickly. Soft and thin. Flavour is there. Grassy. The peat is there. Where I generally find peat showing up, and it comes up in the same place here as at the back of the palate, and it is there, but yet again thin and fleeting. There is a slight gingery burn with it, but very, very slight. This doesn't challenge you. It's not tackling. The fresh fruit doesn't necessarily translate into the palate. Even, you know, because if you start, those flavours that were there in the nose, if you were to pick anything out of it, it's almost that sulphury note again. Maybe even like a creosote. A slight grassiness, but just everything is so fleeting. The finish, as you can imagine, short is the word there. Not a lot to remember. Anything that does hang around tends to hang around in the peripherals of your tongue, in the peripherals of the palate. More malty, grainy notes, but not anything memorable. Now, when you go back to the nose after the palate, after the finish, the nose then does become slightly more smoky. The fresh fruit tends to turn down a little. The peat smoke tends to come up a little. Just still, for me, thin, which I find unfortunate because I did for so long enjoy this whiskey. It led me to ask questions, and this is where feathers tend to get ruffled a little. Irish whiskey, traditionally peated, yes. Starting to come back in. I know Hinch Distillery are already actually putting out a peated whiskey, which I probably should have had here for a comparison. I do have a whiskey here. I know you guys have been watching my videos recently, have seemed to actually like the fact that I'm comparing whiskies. So I have found one which I would compare. Well, say compare. I've pulled it in for a comparison. Yes, I probably should have had a Hinch peated one I would like to try it. I have tried it. I would like to try it against this. I tried it, but only as a sample. So I didn't have anything really. I don't have a great memory of it. Just that it was done and done in the right way. That's something I'll give Cully for, and hence you're doing the same thing. It's done in the right way, and when I say that, I mean they're using peat dried malt. So there are Irish whiskies out there which are finished in ex-peated barrels, ex-peated casks. So there's peated whiskey in there before. These are finished, and the engagement, the peat engagement in them is pitiful. I've tried a couple, and it just, to me, doesn't work. It's a bit of a waste of time, in fairness. Part of my issue with this is, who's it marketed for? The people I know who drink Irish whiskey, not in the whiskey community, the casual drinkers, some of them actually work in the spirits business, the spirits industry, as in they own shops, bars, that sort of thing, generally don't like peated whiskey that much. And this is peated enough that would put them off. It's not Irish whiskey. It doesn't taste like, now yes, the nose has maybe, once you get past that hit of peat, there is a lot of fresh fruit, which you would find in a lot of Irish whiskies, floral, fresh, but it's not Irish either. And it just begs that question for me, who's it marketed for? It costs in pounds sterling 30 to 40 pounds roughly, which isn't expensive really, but so what I've done is, I didn't have, as I say, a Hinch peated, which would probably have been the one that I should have compared it with. So I went for something in my head, which I haven't tried this, as always. I generally don't try these comparisons prior. So I'm just trying this, and I went for something which, to me, yet again, is relatively lightly peated. The Palate 12-year-old from Islay. If you're looking at peated whiskey, generally where do you turn? You turn to Islay. My advice, no, totally different. Totally different. I thought in my head something, as I say, relatively lightly peated, one that you wouldn't consider in Islay. I wouldn't consider an Islay whiskey as a peat monster. Colina, beautiful whiskey. We'll get to that at a later date. I haven't reviewed this one yet, but without even having tasted them, that fresh fruit, still there. Yes, the peat, as I said, haven't been in the palate, the peat turns up a little. But no comparison at all. This is, the earthiness of the peat is there with the Colina. There's a funk, if there's a hint of sulphur in this, it's ramped up in this one. Yeah, that's what peat should taste like in a whiskey. You know, it's there, and it's telling. And this is relatively lightly peated, in my opinion. So, my advice: if you want peated whiskey, buy Scotch. It's a bit of a no-brainer for me, to be honest with you. Maybe that sounds a little cheeky, but it's just my opinion. As I say, opinions can ruffle feathers sometimes, but really, I'm not saying there's no need for peated whiskey and Irish whiskey. It's something different. Maybe that's what it's for. Maybe the reason there is, I would ask the question, who's it marketed for? Maybe it is marketed for the Irish whiskey drinker who just fancies something a little different. But if I wanted peated whiskey, I'm going to buy Scotch peated whiskey, because no matter who seems to do it in Scotland, within reason, they know better what they're doing. Just my opinion. Still not a bad whiskey. Not a bad little whiskey. But it ain't really Irish. It ain't really peated. So it's just something a little off the wall. That's about that. That's all I can say about it. How do we leave that? This, as I say, is part 2, review number 35. I'll be back next week with something else from Ireland. Until then, please keep well. Thank you for being here. And here's to your good health. Cheers. Hey, thanks for watching my video. Please click and subscribe to be notified of further content.